Hello, everyone. Welcome. Sideline Brief Podcast, episode 190. We got NFL Week 5 action to go over games of the week. Plus, we're going to start NBA previews. The training camps have just started, and we got some more NBA news to go over as well. And I believe we got UFC 320 this weekend. Am I correct, Lawrence? Or was that next weekend?
I thought it was this weekend.
UFC 320. We'll go over some of the matches as well. So, with all that being said, guys, stay tuned. Let's hop into the NBA before we head on over to the NFL and then finish with UFC. NBA, we do have some news to go over. A couple of contract signings, probably the biggest one we've been waiting for literally all off season. Finally happened. Jonathan Kuminga of Golden State signed I believe a 2-year deal, team option in the second year. Let me pull up the exacts of the contract, but I believe it's 2 years, $48 million. Let me share my screen. I like it. He's going to get moved most likely as soon as January, I think, is when his no trade date gets waived. So he's probably gone at the trade deadline. He was contemplating signing the qualifying offer all offseason. The Warriors didn't want to give him a player option. He wanted to maintain flexibility of his own future and not, have the team option and basically control his fate. So they settled on this on literally, I think the last day they could. How you feel about this deal, Lawrence? Do you think Kuminga is going to stay the full 2 years? Is he going to get moved as early as his deadline? How do you think?
I think he gets moved at the deadline. I think the Warriors know that they're probably they're going through, what's the best way to put it? The last few glory years that they have of Curry and everything. If you were to say that Kuminga is going to be your future and your star that propels you and we build around for the future, you don't give him a 2-year contract. You give him a little bit longer. So the fact that it's only 2 years and they played into the part of give him to the contract of the player contract, I think it just proves more of what you're trying to tell or say of he's going to get traded at the trade deadline, which, he almost got traded last season at the trade deadline. So I think it's just going to be a guarantee at this point. And honestly, the amount of haul that you can get back and probably veteran talent, could propel you to make a playoff run for one of Curry's last ones.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you don't want to lose him for nothing going into next year, because if he did sign that qualifying offer, he would be unrestricted. So there's no matching his contract. You don't want to lose him for nothing. And like you said, if this is your star player, you don't sign for 2 years. So they're going to move in a different direction, but it all depends on what they can get for Kuminga. There were definitely teams interested, Mojitos to some degree, but they weren't really the highest bidders. It was more like the Kings, more I think even maybe the Bulls and Charlotte and those teams that are kind of on the cusp of making the playoffs, but not really. So I would just wait for those teams to kind of pounce again near the trade deadline. Next up, Quentin Grimes. He did sign his qualifying offer. So after this season, he will be unrestricted. Grimes played pretty well when basically everyone got injured and he had to step in. If teams had cap space, he probably would have got about $20 million at least. But with no teams having cap space this offseason besides the Nets, and you don't want to play for the Nets, he basically just did this and is betting on his future. He probably has still a decent chance to start. So I think Paul George is. I don't know if he's going to be available for the start of the season. So what do you think about this one?
I think this is a good. I've always liked Grimes when he was on the Knicks. I thought it was kind of foolish when they were moved off of him. The thing is, he'll play defense and he'll shoot a three. And honestly, that's something that's I wouldn't say dying in the sport, but the defensive part low key is. The NBA is all about offense, offense, offense. But he kind of lacks in that department. Well, he does have a cutter, and he can shoot a three. Is he going to average 10 points a game? Probably not. But an average, about 6 or 7 good hustle plays a game.
Yeah, we'll see how he fits into the rotation once Paul George does come back. But he was having some 20 and 30 point games last year towards the end when, like I said, he was filling in. But looks like he averaged career highs, 14.6 points, 4 rebounds, about 3 assists, and a steal a game. So yeah, he's a good piece for someone. We'll see. We'll see who that someone is next offseason. Last but not least, my Heatles signed Jovic to a rookie extension, 4 years, $62 million, about 15.5 million per year, no option. So it's just straight up 4 years. My breakdown the contract, I feel like is fair. It's probably the first contract in a while that they haven't overpaid. You're basically projecting him out over 4 years. That like okay, in four like at the end of your 4 years, you'll be a $15 million player. That third, fourth year, starter caliber player. There's talks he might start this year. He wants that, but he's said that equally he knows he's also good off the bench, being that first or second guy off the bench and being a playmaker with the bench guy. So I think it's good for both sides. Like I said, not an overpay, and he definitely has upside, and they believe in him. And he's still young; he's 22, so he still has a lot of growth. So 15 might be a bargain in a couple of years when he's a starter and giving you who knows, maybe at that his peak is borderline all star. What do you think,
Yeah, I
Lawrence?
think you either look like geniuses or you look like idiots in a couple years. Because right now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a problem with it because of what we believe he will be. But you also just paid $15 million to a bench player, a glorified bench player, which I'm not trying to say glorified bench players, I mean, aren't valued or aren't valuable. But I don't know, I think like almost half of last year you were complaining that you wanted him to start and play more. And then it just seems like they don't start and they don't play him enough. So then it's just kind of this endless rotation of, yeah, he's super good and he has the ability to become super awesome and great, but he can never become that until you start him, give him more than just, 20 minutes off the bench. I mean, we're talking like his man needs like a minimum 26 to 28 per game to, in 2 or 3 years for that money to become now worth it.
Yeah, he definitely has a big issue with staying healthy. I think that's his biggest thing, right? Is being available. I don't think he's played a full season. I don't think he's played 60 games yet in his rookie, since his rookie year. So that's the biggest thing for me is can he stay healthy? If he does become a starter, can he, can he give you 65 starts? And if he is a bench player, can he be your sixth man? Can he be, that guy you rely on, first guy off the bench? So it'll be interesting to see if he can evolve into that. Like I said, he's 22, so he still has a lot of room to grow. So, and in this contract, he'll be 26. Hopefully, at 26, he'll be at his prime, and you'll know what you have with him. And if not, if it's something you got to do, maybe move off of him because it still is a movable contract. 15 million is not a huge number. He easily can get dealt in a bigger trade, or you can break him up into smaller pieces. Next up, we're gonna do something different this year. We're gonna work our way. I was gonna do the standings from last year, but I guess we can't. ESPN doesn't have that. Oh, here we do. We'll work our way from the bottom in the East just to make it easier for us, and then finish with the top seeds. So today, let's do the Wizards, Hornets, Sixers, Nets, and Raptors. Starting with our hometown Wiz. I feel like they had a good off season. I feel like they drafted well, picking up. Didn't they pick up who's that kid out of Texas? Trey Johnson. They picked him up. I feel like it's a really good pick for them. I know that the other kid that they got drafted by the Jazz, he wanted to go to Wizards, but he didn't make it that far. But Trey Johnson, they definitely need scoring in Washington, so I love that. Bub gets moved into the starting role after they move off of Marcus Smart. And then from there, I feel like we just need to look at growth from the other young guys like Bilal. Guys see some consistent growth from him. Um, and then Alex Sarr. He looked good as a rookie, not great at times. He looked kind of lost, but you could count on him to play defense. Offense was kind of spotty, so that's what I'm looking for too. In his second year, is can he consistently give you offense? How you feel about the Wiz going into this season,
Um,
Lawrence?
I think the Liz are perfectly set up to be. I think we said this last year, so I guess we're just going to repeat on it. But being like a low end play in team, I think they're perfectly poised to be able to make that move. If they can put it all together with the pieces they brought in, I guess we'll see that this season. I think they easily can do it. And you got two veterans, and then you just surround the rest with rookies who, they don't know any better. You got rid of your, I wouldn't say cancer, but you got rid of your cancer in your locker room. Um, Honestly, there's not a whole lot to dislike about the Wizards going into the season. There's not a ton to enjoy. We're gonna be sweating to get, I don't know, let's say 30 to 40 wins. We're gonna be between that range. We're doing no better than 40 wins though. We're probably grasping at air, getting at 34 to 35.
Wow, that's pretty high. I have them in that 20 to 30 range, so definitely better than last year. I don't know if I can go into the 30s because last year they were 18 and 64. I think they definitely can get in the
I
20s this
I
year.
I I just think that
But okay.
Poole being gone automatically guarantees them 10 more wins
Mm-hmm.
minimum. Because there's about 10 games that I watched Jordan Poole just shoot the ball 70 times and make about 12 of those
Mm-hmm.
70 shots. So that's no longer on the team to,
This,
prohibit growth. Because now we got a bunch of young guys who just watched that
mm-hmm.
idiot for multiple seasons and know kind of what not to do. Like, I just had to sit through and listen and watch this dumbass from, play to play pretty much ruin the team.
this is true. This is true. No Pool. Kuzma also got moved at the deadline. They picked up Cam Whitmore. I like that. We'll see if he can make his way into the starting lineup. I think he deserves it. Maybe Chris Middleton at his advanced age and injury proneness, he can't give you starting minutes. So maybe Cam can give you starting minutes. I'd like to see that. I think CJ is probably the best veteran that they could bring in and kind of steer the ship. Sure to say, but we'll have to see. The Hornets up next. Um, Man, what to say about the Hornets? I think this is a make or break year for Lamelo. Honestly, I feel like he has to show some maturity as far as just like being a leader. He's not really an antics guy, but just I feel like he's a little careless when it comes to just like not leading, not leading effectively. They got a lot of talent here. They should definitely be better than 19 and 63. They definitely should be uh, one of the borderline playing teams with all this talent. They drafted Knipple. I like him. They got Miles Bridges. Whether you like him or not, he's a good player. Mason Plumlee. They still got Grant Williams, but he's coming back off of his Achilles. So, and they got Colin Sexton. So they got some decent pieces. What are your expectations for the Hornets this year,
I
Lawrence?
think it kind of goes back to what you just said about them, about the leadership. I don't really get that vibe from LaMelo that he is a leader amongst his team. I get it. So most of the time we get point guards and we want the point guards to be the leader. We want them to, run the show and it's their team. But I don't get that vibe whenever I see or watch LaMelo. Like, he doesn't give leader, I would say, qualities. I would say he gives more of best player, because not always is your best player your leader. And I would say that
Hmm.
that's probably an identity thing that the Charlottes are just missing overall. Like, can't make Miles Bridges your leader, just reasons, but you can't make him your leader.
Yep.
LaMelo just doesn't give leader vibes. Miller maybe, but he's also younger than most of the roster. But that doesn't really mean much. But he can't stay healthy last year, so Knipple's a rookie, so he can't be a leader. And then who am I going to listen to? Mason Plumlee? I'm not letting Mason Plumlee lead me around. So like, there's a whole identity crisis with the team. Now maybe Colin Sexton can, finagle his way onto a leadership role, but then again, you're asking a guy to be the leader of your team from the bench. So I think that is the identity crisis of the Hornets. There is no, let me take charge. This is my team. LaMelo just seems like a guy, he's a great point guard. He's just not a leader point guard. He needs like a leader. Honestly, he would be good on a team in which the center is the leader. Uh, Everything is going to be told and said power forward center. The small guy who dishes the ball
Yeah,
out is not the one that leads. It should be the biggest guy on the team then at that point.
I would have to agree with you on that one. I would have to agree with you on that one. Next up, we got the Sixers. Now, they had a little shit show last year. Everyone basically was hurt at some point or another. A good chunk of the season, Paul George and Joel missed. Tyrese was in and out the lineup. We just talked about Grimes. He signed his qualifying offer. They drafted Edgecombe, and they lucked out and kept their pick this year. They still got Oubre. Um, Still got Kyle Lowry. Still got Eric Gordon. So they got a decent roster. It just all depends on. They still got Jerry McCain, even though I think he tore something in his thumb, so he's going to be out for the beginning of the season. So they got the foundations of a nice team, Lawrence. I'm a little questionable about their overall team health, and can everyone stay healthy on this team? What are your thoughts with the Sixers?
I think that's just the major drop off of the 76ers. And I guess I'll relate it to football. It's like the 49ers. Year after year, we see the 49ers be super good, and then we just watch almost the entire team get injured over the course of the whole season. And then what you had once as a great team, good team, is now more so just a middle of the road, middle of the pack team. Vice versa goes to the 76ers. Every year we say they're going to be good, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. They got studs here, they got studs there. And then halfway through the season comes and the starting point guard's out. The starting center is almost always out. The power forward is older beyond his years. And then you got no name guys filling in and trying to come out and pull out games. I mean, I'm pretty sure they literally had, oh man, what was his name? The guy who won the slam dunk contest? The white guy?
Uh, uh,
Yeah, they had
Matt
McClung
McClung.
on their team. They never really
Yeah, they did.
ever let him get utilized, but I guess his game isn't really meant for the NBA. It's just for dunking.
Yeah, the Sixers. They're gonna be the one team that, again, just like last year, they either can be super good, like you said, or the same thing will happen, and then with these guys that borderline. I mean, they're borderline bench to role players. Like sometimes, like on other teams, they wouldn't play at all, but on this team, like they might have to step up and start some games because you can't count on the health of especially Joel, but I mean also Paul George and Maxi. He's that guy that kind of can go in and out the lineup. So it'll be interesting to see. They definitely got a lot of talent. They could be a top 4 or 5 seed, but they also can be a bottom 4 or 5 seed. So they got the biggest little pendulum in the NBA right now.
I think Joel Embiid has
Um,
played less than 50% of his qualified games as a 76er or something like that.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because he is yeah, he is something else. Next up, we have the Nets. Now, the Nets, they're basically a salary taker team. They were the team this offseason that just took on contracts and got picks. They were also the team that had 5 picks in the draft and didn't consolidate and move up to get anybody. So they got 5 first rounders on this team. Um, Cam Thomas, they didn't give him the extension he wanted, so I'm pretty sure he signed his qualifying offer as well. But he's also another guy that gets hurt a lot. So, and they gave up Cam Johnson for just 1 first round pick, which was a little insane, doing helping the Nuggets out right there. But not the here nor there. They're gonna be back in the bottom. They got nothing to worry about, and I believe you'll probably see them sell some more. I believe at some point you'll probably see Cam. I'm not sure if he can get traded, but if he can, you'll probably see him get moved, and you'll probably see Nick Claxton get moved at some point as well. Some team's gonna want a starting caliber center when their center gets hurt, and I think Nick Claxton will be at the top of that list. What are your thoughts about the Brooklyn Nets this upcoming season?
I'm kind of in belief with you that they're gonna fire sale because the problem is they don't have any. I want to just say high end talent. They don't have like a game changing,
Mm-hmm.
all pro take over a game and make sure you win. Like they just don't. And I feel like that's gonna be one thing that they're gonna run into constant problems. I feel like teams against like against like the Wizards and the Hornets and we'll say the Kings and the I can't even think of any more teams that they can just consistently beat, or just on average beat. Because in reality, it's it's mostly just a chock full of role players. That some of them are high end role players, but like you were just alluding to with Nick Claxton, there's going to be a bunch of teams calling probably a quarter of the way to halfway through the season who have holes to fill, and the Brooklyn Nets. At the end of the day, all you need is money and veterans or leaders or peacemakers, or not peacemakers, but peacekeepers, which they got none of, except for maybe Cam Thomas.
Yeah, they're gonna be definitely sellers. This roster will definitely look different by the end of the trade deadline than what you see right now, for sure. Last team we got are the Raptors. They're for me, I feel like they're very similar to the Sixers. I don't think they'll be as good as the Sixers, like ceiling. The Raptors won't have that quite high of a ceiling, but they do have the potential to be really good. Scotty Barnes, they take a step back last year. I think it was All Star 2 years ago. Last year, didn't make the All Star team. His numbers from last year dropped off as well, but they did pick up Bi at the trade deadline. I think Barrett's been there for about what this is going into his second year there. So he's probably getting more used to playing in Toronto. I think where he's from Canada. Grady Dick, he looks good going into. I think this is his third year, right? So they got pieces. I like their roster. They don't have that standout star yet. A lot. I'm assuming as most people probably are. They thought Barnes would be that budding superstar, but he only has the one All Star appearance. Same with Bi. So it'd be interesting to see if they can coexist with the team healthy, and see if they can complement each other or will they get in each other's way. So yeah, I got them as a border. I got them as a playing team. I think the East is definitely in shambles this year. I think they'll be a playing team. We're in that playing range. They could be either 7 or they could be 10. I think that's where they probably fall. What are your expectations for the Raptors this year, Lawrence?
Um, well, personally, I kind of believe there's going to be some East teams that fall down a little bit more. And when you said about a 7 range, I think that's about where they're going to be. I think they're going to be 6 or 7. I think they're going to be on the high end of the play-in. I think they're going to be 6 or 7 seed, trying to not be in the play-in game, but ultimately be in the play-in. But fundamentally, I think they should be pretty sound. Um, Brandon Ingram as like a stringy power forward with a, I wouldn't say powerful big, but with a good enough big who I wouldn't say does everything right, but Jacopoto just checks most boxes. I mean, there's not a whole lot of things that Jacopoto can't
Yeah.
do. Is he world breaking? No, but is he getting the job done week to week, game to game? Yeah, he does. I think Quickly was underrated, and underutilized. I think him having an offense to himself does kind of seem sexy to see what he can do with it. Defensively, kind of a liability. But that's why you got Barrett and Ingram. Scotty Barnes again. I mean, he can kind of move on. Him and Ingram, I think, like you were alluding to, are going to be the focal point, how they can coexist. But honestly, he's a young star with an old vet. We know how it's going to go. The old vet's going to kind of tell him how it's going to be. And I think Scotty Barnes seems like a smart enough individual to just roll with what the vet tells him to do. Because at the end of the day, it's Brandon Ingram, and it's not any of his play that has prohibited him from being multiple time Pro Bowlers. It's his injury history, and honestly, the sad fact that
Mm-hmm.
he's just been on trash teams. And it's not even his fault. I mean, maybe he said something about drafting Zion, but like he didn't ask for Zion to be brought in there just to play Joel Embiid number amount of games. He didn't ask for CJ McCollum. I forget what kind of injury. Didn't he like have a um chest problem, a heart problem?
Yeah, he had a
Yeah.
bunch of
So
stuff
like
too.
we forget how good Ingram actually could be if he didn't, I guess, get himself put on a bad Pelicans team, and then have the Pelicans year after year look like they were going to be good, and then just croak out because their whole team just gets either injured or, well, honestly, doesn't play.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. I think Ingram is due for a breakout year. Those teams you listed were not good. They were also injury prone. I know he's missed time too from injuries, but that might be due to him having to carry a bigger load and then thus getting hurt in the process. So I'm higher on the Raptors than I feel like most people are. I think that 7 to 10 range is perfect for them. Like you say, closer to that 7-8 range. Um, Switching over to the NFL, we got the Thursday night game going on right now. We're recording on Thursday night. Um, we got another European game. We got Minnesota, Cleveland, 9:30 on Sunday. Who do you have in this one?
I personally think it's going to be Cleveland. I want to give the benefit of the doubt to the Vikings because they've been on the road in England, hanging out for weeks. They're adapted to the time zone. But then you also got to look on the other hand. The Browns pretty much got there on Wednesday or Tuesday, one or the other. They've been there for a while. They're not going to be fatigued at that point. Personally, I just like the Browns defense. I think the Browns defense um, wreaks a lot of havoc. And then you want me to ask. Then you want to ask me, do I feel confident enough in the Vikings? Let's just say not choking it. And no, not with Carson Wentz leading the way. I mean, you could tell me J.J. McCarthy was going to be the quarterback. I still would probably have question marks because you can argue, outside of beating the Bengals half to death, nothing that they've done this season has been that impressive. And then now looking at it, the Bengals win is less than impressive because the Bengals just got um, beat up and down the field on Monday Night Football against the Broncos. Fair be it, they were on the road, but still, you just can't get over the fact that they got that done to them. And the week before, they got done like that to the Vikings, and the Vikings only wins with the Bengals, who can't protect their quarterback worth a damn, and the Vikings love to blitz, so that's just a super recipe for disaster. Uh, and then they beat the Bears. And not even just beating the Bears, they beat Week 1 Bears. So if we think the Bears are young, kind of mediocre, still figuring out and bad, and the Bears were winning, and the Bears low-key should have won before the collapse. I mean, honestly, the Bears pretty much should have won that game if they didn't collapse. So the Vikings easily could be sitting at 1-3. So I'm gonna give the edge to the Bears, and I'm gonna go. Or sorry, the Browns, and I'm gonna go with the Browns because honestly, Dylan Gabriel is gonna be the quarterback. If he sucks, he sucks. If Sanders might come in, who knows? But he can't be worse than Flacco's doing. Flacco's just throwing hospital balls and arm punts.
Yep, I talked about that last episode. The man's just throwing up free interceptions. Flacco had to go. I'm not too sure. Gabriel, I mean, he can't do much worse, but I'm not sure he's going to be much better. Give me the Vikes in this one. I feel like both defenses, I feel like, will hold each offense in check. I don't think the Browns' offensive line is all that good, but I think they're okay. I don't think they're anything outstanding. So we'll just have to see who plays better, Carson Wentz or Gabriel. And I think Wentz has enough dinking and dunking left in them to win this one, especially being over
The
in
only
England.
issue I have with that is statistically the Steelers are like I think it's 31st or 30th and all around defense. Now turnovers they're like pretty much number one or at least top tier, but that is a consistency thing that I think is really going to come into effect. The Vikings could not do anything against a pretty bad Steelers defense that is missing half their defense.
Yep, yep. This is true. This is true. Uh, Now in the 1 o'clock window, any games we should be on the lookout for?
Um, Honestly, I feel like revenge game might be brewing. Um, when I say revenge game might be brewing, we're gonna start with. Let's go down here. We're gonna start with the Texans versus the Ravens. Now I know the Texans are a 3-point favorite going into the game, and that's because Lamar Jackson is doubtful. Trust me when I say this: if Lamar Jackson doesn't play, this team's gonna suck, and they're gonna suck hot poopy. And there's nothing they can do about it. You want me to believe in Cooper Rush? That's cool, but you got an offense that legitimately is built around a guy that likes to throw and run. So when you put a guy back there who only wants to throw, the offensive line kind of has to shift and change. Maybe the blocking might be more favorable for Derrick Henry because now it's way more important for when he runs to actually like keep the ball in their possession and run the clock. But personally, I think the Texans they got a gimme win against the Titans. They looked like shit almost the whole game until the fourth quarter. Then they just completely put on the ass whooping.
Yeah.
It could be just a get right game, for them too. The offense, if it can keep its momentum from the fourth quarter of that game, which honestly, if you want to be honest, the Titans defense is not bad. Fundamentally, coaching wise, the Titans are god awful, and their offense is a lot of missing to be desired. There is nothing that you want to do with that offense. But the defense is pretty good when they were able to hold the Texans into check for 3 quarters. We can know the Ravens defense is god awful on a completely different hand. Problem with the Texans is they don't really have an offensive line to block. It's okay. The Ravens don't really have a D line. They don't really have much of anything, and then the secondary either. So, give me the Texans, even though they're 2.5 favorite. I kind of have a bigger win in mind because I think it was like 33-2 or 33-10 or something like that. I mean, they whooped the Houston's ass in the playoffs last season, and the Texans would want nothing more than to get some revenge go 2-3, and then make the Ravens go 1-4. And if the Ravens are going 1-4, I'm pretty sure statistically
It's over.
in a season, I don't know.
It's over.
I think it's only like one team has ever made the playoffs after going 1-4. So it's pretty much done. The season's over. Then you're going to come back. Then we're going to be coming to the fact
Yep.
of, well, how much do we even play Lamar this season? Because what's the point of coming back? He's not. They're not making the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they lose this one. The season's lost. I have them losing as well. I think the Texans win this one. I know, like you said, it's 2.5, but if Lamar doesn't play, they're going to get an ass whooping. So I would just go ahead and take that 2.5. Probably bumping up a touchdown. I mean, easily a touchdown. Lamar didn't practice today. Neither did, I think, Kyle Hamilton didn't practice today. Van Noy still hurt. Their best D tackle is out for the year with a neck injury. I think Humphrey's out as well. It's just injuries all around the board. I don't think they have enough to reasonably compete anymore. I think the season's done. And yeah, Ravens fans got to pack it up, just like we are. What? Any other from the 1 o'clock window?
Well, I'm not talking about Carolina because those motherfuckers suck.
Why not?
They
Look
suck.
against Miami.
Miami's probably going to win and look great at it too. The Saints being a favorite against the Giants is high-key insane. I'm going to go Giants in that one. I'm just not a believer in Rattler. And at this point in time, it's going to come down to the fact of who's going to have the better or the worst record of all time starts. Because I think they said Spencer Rattler just got to 0-10 in his starts.
Oh, my God.
And the only person who has more losses consecutively is Deshaun Kaiser. Which, do you remember anything about Deshaun Kaiser? He went 0-15. He actually never won a game in his whole NFL career.
Oh.
So, is Spencer Rattler doomed for the same inevitable fate? I think it is actually a good possibility because, honestly, Rattler's just been put into a horrible situation. And pretty much was given no graces in the process either. And half the games that he's playing in, they're winnable. They could, if things in some aspect went their way, could and could pull it out of up.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for me, Dallas, New York, Jets will be interesting. I'm still riding high on the Jets. I think they can pull one out at home versus them boys after they coming off a tie. And then I'm looking at Denver, Philly. I know there's some drama going on with AJ Brown, and then he apologized today, saying wasn't about the team, he doesn't want to leave. He just wants to be great and have a great season, just like everyone else. So I think they force feed him the ball. I don't know. Philly could lose this one, but I mean, I'm not sold on the Broncos still. I mean, you beat up on the Bengals, whoop de doo. The offense still looks shaky at times. You only put up 28.
I would only be picking the Broncos in this game if they were at home. I think it's going to be closer than I think it's going to be about a 3.5 of what they have it at, which it's kind of crazy to believe this game is a pick 'em if it wasn't for home field advantage. But
yeah,
I'm agreeing with you. Well, not agreeing, but I'm also going to double up on what you're saying with AJ Brown. And honestly, if I am AJ Brown, I already got the Super Bowl ring with the Eagles, right?
Yes.
High key, I don't care. They don't need me to win games. They truly just don't. The fact that he is 4 weeks into the season and has 158 total fucking yards. Or sorry, that shouldn't have said it that way. Is it 155? I think it was 155. I might have gotten that wrong. Sorry, he has 151. Devontae Smith has 158. So, this man has less yards than Puka Nacua last week. In the whole season. Yeah, if I am him, I am getting the hell out of there. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to remember your Super Bowl wins. You could be a great wide receiver, but if you put up numbers of 151 yards through 4 games, you're not getting Hall of Fame nods or Hall of Fame um, accolades or push for it. No, you were just a really good wide receiver at your time. That was all you were, though. Like, we don't remember you anything past that. I mean, of all those Patriot uh, wide receivers that constantly won Super Bowls with them, with Tom Brady, how many of them do we actually talk about? Well, I guess Edelman. But I mean, like Wes Welker, he's kind of forgotten about. And the moment he did leave was super forgotten about. And do we ever think Wes
Yeah.
Welker should get Super Bowl, or not Super Bowl, Hall of Fame nods? No. No one's really looking at Wes Welker should be in the Hall of Fame. And at the current trajectory of A.J. Brown, he's not going to get any Hall of Fame nods. He's literally not. He could win 4 Super Bowls with the Eagles back to back to back, back to back to back to back to back, and be like one of the first people ever. It's not going to be him that's getting the Hall of Fame nods. It's just not, because he didn't do anything. He's just not doing
Yep.
anything. And I pray that when the trade deadline comes, that he makes a big enough fuss and they just move off, because just trading him away, you can get like a 2nd-round pick, like 2 second-round picks probably. You can probably get a first if you want to argue it. I mean, it's not
Oh,
him
for sure.
that's the problem. It's our offense. But
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I agree with you.
I mean, he's got to hit the ground, run it, and get out of there. They're kind of wasting his youth, to be honest.
I'm in full agreement. 4 o'clock window. We'll start with my Bengals, even though they suck. They need to trade for a quarterback. ASAP Rocky. Don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll give Jake another week or two, and then evaluate at
You need to get Jake in the
that.
O-line.
I think for this one, definitely take the line spread in this one. I think the Bengals just won't be able to put up points. Zach's whatever his offensive scheme going into the year is just heavily flawed. I mean, you can look and listen to any of the pundits out there. They're tearing this guy apart. You know, I think he's running out of shotgun even more than he did in previous years. Very predictable. He's not calling games correctly. Plays are very obvious who is going to. Very vanilla. Um, I've believed in Zach in the past, and in the past he showed me up. I didn't think last year we would be able to finish 9-8 and barely squeeze into the playoffs, and he proved us wrong. He did some spectacular coaching along with Joe just being Superman. 2 years ago when Joe was out, I didn't think he'd get the team to 9-8 with Jake, and he did. But this year it just seems off. It just seems like he's just getting exposed, bro. And I think this is all the writing is on the wall. I think if he keeps up this shit show he has going on, he's gonna be out of here. I think Mike Brown will be willing to eat one fucking year of his contract. But yeah, take line spread in this one. I think Jake will play better in this game. He played decently. I think he's just not seeing the field well. He missed some throws last game that he had Jamar, he had Mike Gesicki open a couple times, wide open for touchdowns. He had Chase Brown on that first drive, wide open for a touchdown. He's just not seeing the field well. So I think he corrects some of those mistakes, but at the end they won't be able to put up enough points to beat the Lions.
If there was a game that I would bring
That's
up for
what I
the
got.
4 o'clock games, it's going to be the Chargers and the Commanders. They still have the Chargers as the favorite. I know there's no Scary Terry for the Commanders, and they did kind of look bad one week without him. But that was also with Mariota as the quarterback.
Yep.
I think the bigger issue is the Chargers are the favorites, yet they just lost Joe Alt, and we saw how bad they looked the second half against the Giants, of all people. And in their inability to stop the pass rush against the Giants, when I'm pretty confident the Redskins have a very good front four that can get to the quarterback, because I'm pretty sure they're a bit heavier than most of the league, which I think will counterbalance Omarion Hampton, the guy who's kind of blown up recently of weeks for them. I mean, if there's no lanes to run through, he's just a little bit obsolete. Now, can Herbert throw dimes and bombs all over the Commanders' defense? Probably. I think the issue will become whether or not he has enough time to throw said bombs or dimes down the field to his team. I think that's going to be a big test. I think Herbert probably will, but I just think the the Redskins will do just enough to maintain what they need to do to win the game. I think the Commanders, they have the ability to run the ball and keep the ball out of the hands of the Chargers. Kind of break down and beat up their will and spirit to live. I think in comparison to past weeks, Mariota's been doing a lot more running and like getting the offense going through the run game and scrambling. You're not even looking at the same film when Daniels comes back into the play. Daniels doesn't really operate the same way as Mariota. So you can't even leverage on the few games that you can go back and watch because they really don't have anything to do with the Redskins team that you're going to see on Sunday. So I think all the cards are in the favor of the Redskins, especially the O-line problems with the Chargers. I mean, there really is no fixing the fact that you don't have two tackles.
This is true. I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna take the Chargers in this one. Herbie did not look good last week. Granted, that was against the Giants, who have probably the second best defensive front behind the Browns. Some people might even throw the Broncos as the top, 3 or 4 defensive front. So I get it. Both his starting tackles are out, but we kind of, at least I kind of hinted, the Commanders' defense is decent, not okay. They don't have a pass rusher. They wanted Trey Hendrickson for a reason. Weren't able to get him. They, sniffed around at other pass rushers this offseason, weren't able to get any. So I'm not too afraid. I think the offensive line should hold up a lot better than they did last week. Their secondary, of course, is vulnerable. So I think if Herbie can bounce back and just get in rhythm and play well, he's at home and surgically cut up the Commanders' secondary. I think they should win this one. And we don't know how Jaden's going to look coming back from off of a knee injury. Will it be? He's definitely not 100%. Will he wear a knee brace? Will he be impacted by that? We don't know the details of that. So with all that being said, I'm gonna take the Chargers in this one.
Interesting.
I mean, the only other game I would watch on Sunday is Tampa Bay Seattle. I feel like, Tampa Bay is going through some injuries. Seattle, can they play, Tampa Bay well? It'll be interesting to see. Will Baker still be dealing? I don't know. This was it's a toss up for me. I honestly don't know who's going to win this one, but I'm very excited for this one.
I would lean Tampa Bay, but I can see the Seahawks winning a good one at home.
Yep. Monday night is Kansas City, Jacksonville. Kansas City, got Worthy back. They looked pretty damn good, albeit they play the Ravens, who have a bottom 30 defense. I think they're like 32 in some defensive categories. Jacksonville, one loss was against my Bengals. But other than that, they won all the other games. I think Travis Etienne has the most yards per carry in the NFL right now. So he's toting the rock pretty well after they got Bigsby out of there. So he's, the sole back. They have some younger guys behind him. This offensive line is made to run the ball. I think they're top 5 in rushing as well. So we'll see how that goes against the Kansas City front, who, I mean, they held Derrick Henry and the Ravens pretty much, I think, to under 100 yards besides that one Justice Hill rush. If you take that out, then they held them pretty good on the ground. So, are the Chiefs back?
No.
I wouldn't say they're back, but they're definitely they'll be more competitive. So I'll take the Chiefs in this one.
Interesting. I actually would go Jacksonville. Um, for reasons you kind of mentioned, the only game they lost this season was to the Bengals. We can argue in that game they should have won. If it wasn't for a PI that probably should have gotten called, but in most cases probably could have gotten overlooked too. They lost. I don't think Kansas City's that good. The only team they beat up was the Giants, and then to be honest, they took advantage and beat down a collapsing Ravens team. I think we're gonna look back at that week as like the complete collapse of the Ravens this season, and pretty much the ultimate factor of their season. I think Kansas City is, again, like we've been saying, a little overhyped. Yeah, you got Worthy back, but his effectiveness is going to be like game to game. There's just going to be every game now. Teams know, oh yeah, Worthy. We got to remember that guy. Because going into the last game, well, first of all, it doesn't even matter. The Ravens defense is so bad that it doesn't even matter what wide receivers are out there. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster was looking really good. We know that is very rare nowadays. He had his time. He was good in his prime. I wouldn't say he's in that prime anymore. But yeah, I think the Jags have. I wouldn't say a big chance on their hands in this exact game, but they should be trying to put every bit of leverage between them and the Texans as possible. Because I think the Colts will inevitably collapse at some point and kind of go back to what we just being a little bit above of what we thought they would be this season. I wouldn't say they're going to become complete poopy ass, but I believe they're going to be just sitting there right above of what an average team is, 16, 18, 14th best team in the league, somewhere around there. Just right at the peak of what you want to be. But I think the Jags have an easy ability to be one of the best. They just need that ability to put it together game to game. They just need their quarterback that they paid a lot of money to have above average quarterback ratings.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Last but not least, UFC 320. Pereira is getting his rematch. How he will fare in this rematch, I'm not too sure because he got his ass whooped. Lawrence, any thoughts on this?
Unfortunately, I think he gets knocked out again. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like fighter fatigue, but like he fought so many fights so quickly at such an older age. To be honest, he did well and he defended himself and held himself well. But I feel like he's gonna start trickling out because he doesn't fight like he used to, which was honestly the best way he used to fight, which was a little bit slower, methodical, and tactful. I feel like now half the time he's going for these like hardcore knockout blows, and I don't think you get that on Ankalaev. So I'm going to take Ankalaev. I'm also unfortunately going to have to take Marab. I mean, I'm not saying I hate the matchup against Sandhagen, but Sandhagen wants to sit there and box and have a good scrappy fight, and Marab is just going to hug him all the whole of the fight. And it's literally all it's going to be. Excitingness, Roundtree versus Porca's. I don't even know how to say it. I think Roundtree has the chance, but I think Roundtree. I don't know. I feel like we saw his limits when he fought Pereira, and honestly, this is the only other guy they know how to throw out there to fight Pereira, other than Ankalaev. This is the only other guy, and he's fought him twice and lost both times. So like Yuri's not awful, but I don't think Roundtree has enough to push himself over the needle of Yuri. I think Yuri is just going to low key gatekeep him out. I don't think Josh Emmett wins this fight, but I will be rooting for Josh Emmett to win. At 40 years old, he's pretty much washing out, but he still has that knockout power. And he's plus 375. If he wins, he's probably knocking him out. So you might as well take Josh Emmett probably at plus 500 at a knockout. And who knows, you might get rich. I would tell you to take Joe Piver, but last time he fought, he looked way too sus to back again. So honestly, um, if you do want a good, fight to try to bet on and make some money on, put Patchy Mix in like a parlay. But then if you want to have the, I would say, leverage on your parlay, take the guy who's fighting Patchy Mix straight up to win, because Patchy Mix in his first fight in the UFC, after being like one of the greatest Bellator fighters of like almost all time, looked pretty bad. And yeah, Patchy Mix went from being, I think it was a co-main event on his last card to being in the prelims. That's how quickly they relegated his ass. So he really has one of two things to do. He can either prove himself really hard and knock this guy out, which you probably should take him by knockout, or he loses to another UFC guy. But the difference is, this is not a proven UFC guy like the last one was.
Mm.
Yeah, they're trying to give him a cushy fight. Because I guess they figured out they threw him way too far into the deep end in the UFC, and he just was not cut out for it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I will be watching at the very least the prelims. We'll see if I'll be able to catch the main card of this one. But I'll be rooting for Pereira. But I think you're right. I think Anklev will do some damage to him. That's all I got. Lawrence, you got anything else to add on before we head
Nah, I
out?
give you everything I got.
That's all we got, folks. Sideline Brief Podcast, episode 190. We will catch you guys next week. Enjoy NFL Sunday and UFC 320. We're out. Peace.